Okay, we will talk. Yeah, we will. Yeah.
We already have. That's the reason why we're talking.
So, this is the admin Tales of Fail talk. It's not going to be a run through of every command that we ran at the terminal because that's really boring. So what it's going to be is kind of an overview of how complex systems fail and how that applied to what we did at Redbrick. Okay, so the first thing we should point out is what sysadmins do and what they don't do. So most of the time we are that last picture where we stare at the screen. We don't know what we're doing.
Generally what you see on the screen is the Google search page.
Yeah, if you can Google it, we think.
Oh no, we'd never use Google for this.
Bing?
No.
Okay, so what we actually do, package management, configuration management, user management, disk management, lots of things ending in the word management.
Procrastinating.
Yeah.
It's a very important one.
A lot of that. Ordering pizza and drinking beer.
Yeah.
Coffee.
Installing, updating, networking, allocating resources, and then we have college work on top of it too. So yeah, we're heroes.
Sometimes.
End of talk.
Sometimes.
We're just gonna...
So what we're going through is the Redbrick system architecture, the documentation, how it's good, bad, and horrible, what we did when we actually pushed the big red button, and Franken servers and how they actually occur. And some good stuff as well, the fact that the services are still up.
Sometimes. Most of the time.
All of the time, we have 100% uptime.
5 nines, boys.
Yes.
So first is the architecture. So do you want to take it?
Yeah, we're going to go a bit through what the architecture is. So the first slide is, according to the docs, this is our architecture. And this all looks nice. And it looks really pretty. This is what it's currently standing at some point. So the server has died, and this connection died, and B4 is dying, and data is dying. And we're missing some stuff. So we went and we filled it in. And this is what it really looks like. So this is replacing B4. These are the new servers that are replacing Morpheus, which, oh, we forgot Morpheus died too.
Oh yeah.
Albus is replacing Cerberus. And then, Rob, do you want to go through the dependencies? Because I can't really tell.
Yeah, so like the reason there's so many lines on this diagram is because although everything looks really nice and everything looks like it depends on Hadron or switch, which it does, there's software dependencies everywhere. So up the top there's network attached storage. Basically everything depends on Zazel to get to network attached storage. There's things like LDAP that run on Morpheus that everyone needs to get to. Paphos runs our bind DNS server, so everything needs to talk to that. So there's a lot more at play than just plugging things in and hoping they work.
Although plugging things in is a really good start, and apparently we didn't do that once, and that kind of caused a couple of issues.
Yeah, so it leads to this situation where we just look and we're like, mother of God, what's going on?
Yeah.
Not really sure.
Yeah.
We found out though.
Yeah. So it leaves us with
Eventually.
Some things that kind of just work. We don't know why. A half understanding of how things are actually set up, but we're learning as we go. Yeah, there's some things that we're unaware of, like random proxying, custom setup and configuration details, and as past admins put like hacky solutions and kind of workarounds in, we don't know how they work, but we try to figure it out as we go.
Those 1 or 2 things that were changed to make them work, but they never told anyone that it works, so go back to the first one, it just works.
Yeah.
And everyone just kind of accepts it.
And I'm pretty sure at some point we do have to sacrifice a first to some weird god of networking. We don't know yet.
Not always.
But always.
So that brings us on to documentation. So our documentation is some examples of this. PubCookie references old website Murphy, which I believe is a good 4 to 6 years old, maybe.
And hasn't been running in 2.
Yes, doesn't run at all. The configuration, or the page for our DRACs, or our Data Remote Access Cards, tell us that we have to port forward via Sprout. I honestly don't know what Sprout is.
It's an old switch.
Fair enough, it's an old switch. They're just some examples. I tried to look for other ones, but I couldn't find any because I can't remember the pages that I saw them on. But there are definitely many more there. So docs are good when they're up to date and if they're right. And when they're not, they're terrible. They're really terrible. So one night when me and Coffee had to do the LDAP, we were like, oh, so we just follow the guide here. And they're like, oh no, that's all broke. Don't use that at all.
Yeah.
There's some other script to do it. And we're like, fantastic. And how do we know they're right? Like some of them may be updated last year, but again, might be missing 1 or 2 things.
Or everything, and the only thing that was changed was the name of the server it points at.
that too.
Yeah, it's hard to know as well what to document. So if we go and fix something, if I'm really good with DNS and Lorcan's not really good with DNS, I may not document the things that I'm doing in the Hacky workarounds because I assume that he just knows what to do. And when he comes along next year and tries to do it, he can't do it. So yeah, it's a hard problem to solve.
Yeah. So pretty much it's kind of like, what do you document? Rule of thumb is document everything where you can and when you remember, and then you forget, so you don't do it. Pretty much, if it's not on the docs, you can probably find it on Google. Google are great docs.
Yeah.
If you've had the problem, someone else has probably had it before you. So it's a good place to start, to go and find what you're looking for.
Unless there's a problem where you have to try and compile Apache for Solaris, and when you search that, the only entry is in fact Redbrick docs. So we Google and we find ourselves, and us being the tenet of all things Apache on Solaris is not good.
No. So that kind of, Google is kind of the answer, and then we forget to put the answer in the docs, and that's been going on for...
There's things as well, like you can find a lot of information by Googling, but unless you know exactly what you should be Googling for, you have a problem, because we had an issue with LDAP where we were trying to query everything from the LDAP servers. We were Googling, how do I get all the crappy information out of LDAP? We spent 3 hours doing that, and then an associate comes back to us 3 hours later and says, oh, you just run the command get out group, or some random command like that. We spent 3 hours, nothing like that showed up in Google. So yeah, you have to know what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Google's great when you know how to Google and what you're Googling.
Yeah. And when you find something on Google, what you don't look at.
Yeah. So that kind of brings us on to Franken servers, which Rob has coined the term, so I'll let him go on about this.
Yeah, so everything that we have with Redbrick, it's a Franken server. There's random patches people have put on. It's like everything's being held together with plasters. Mainly because of the high turnover rate we have. Like every day is day one. We learn something new about the servers every day, and that's not a cliche, it's scary.
Yeah.
So yeah, we are a college society. All the admins are volunteers. We're new learners. We're not like professionals. You can throw as much kind of industry standards and best practice at us as we can. We try to implement it, but it's not always possible.
Not always.
Not at all. So every year, people are coming and going. Like I've only been admin a year. I'll be gone next year.
Yeah.
Half the stuff that I've done that I haven't documented properly is probably not going to be obvious to Lorcan.
And even when new admins come in, we try and tell them all the things that we were told when we started, but then that person probably forgot to tell us some things.
Yeah.
And so it passes on. So you get kind of the broad overview, but you're missing some critical information along the way.
After 20 years, you lose enough of the base knowledge from the original system that it's just unsustainable.
I don't think anything from the original system is still there, though.
I think I called it the first time I stepped in was trickle-down ignorance. It's the things that they didn't know, they told me, that now I don't know, that I can't tell them, and they don't know, so they can't tell the next guy. So it's trickle-down ignorance.
You'll find out eventually.
When it goes wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how we push the big red button. Yep, you did it in production. Do it live. Don't ever do it live.
Don't ever do it.
It's not a good way to do it, as we found out. We thought it was all going to be grand and just a nice update. No, well, it wasn't a nice update.
I think the words myself and Rob uses, what was the worst that could happen? And we found out.
Yeah, if it can go wrong, it will. So, yeah, just a quick run through of what we actually did. There were critical C vulnerabilities that we had to update. Patching C libraries in the past had given us crazy errors that we had to fix, and it was really annoying. So we said, if we're going to have to fix those errors, we might as well just update while we're here, because we had some time off. So we had started some of the update work before Christmas and postponed it, but we decided to resume. 10.04 for Ubuntu was reaching the end of life, so we knew we had to do it, and we decided to go with it. Yeah, so then stuff broke, kind of. We got everything back to a stable state on the original web server Morpheus, and then we had a hardware failure on Morpheus in the CPU cache.
Yeah.
So all the work we had spent doing all week was void, and we had to move everything around.
So that's when we kind of started to look into moving on to a new server, which was Paphos at the time, but then we also had to bring in MethArmy to install it on 12.04 because of something with Apache that I can't remember. I think it was too new of a version to run our old config, and we didn't want to have to write the config from scratch because it's almost a 20-year-old config.
And because pubcookie won't work in 14.04.
And because pubcookie doesn't work in 14.04, and pubcookie is what we use.
And we would have had to recompile IRC because it doesn't talk to the rest of the IRCs on the intersocks now.
We have to do that as well.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't come with SSL installed, and if you have a new version of SSL, you have to download and compile the old version of SSL to reinstall the new version of IRC Hybrid with the old version of SSL.
And that's when we found out that it doesn't talk to everyone else.
So when we figure out that we have to do these things, when we say migrating services and compiling these things, it's not like new fancy Google servers or Amazon servers where everything is virtualized and it can be rolled out really quickly. It takes time.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of knowledge and learning, and it's all manual. So when things break, we have to sit there at the command line and try to figure out what's wrong with them.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time we don't know, and it takes hours to migrate your servers from one server to another, not like a click of a button and 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really hard.
You'd hope it's that way, and then when you install it on the new one, there's some error that you have to try and fix before you can do the old one. And we started to migrate services mid-breaking of the new services.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yes.
Probably not the best idea.
No.
Yeah, so we did have a bit of a plan.
Kind of.
And in fairness, a lot of the guys who had originally set up these services came back and did help us. So we had we weren't alone. We did have the old admins come in, and we have to give them props because they did help us out a lot. They filled in a lot of the knowledge gaps that we had, and they did their best to help us.
Yeah,
they did really fucking well. That's why we're kind of still running.
They really do help out. Turns out experience is really handy. And running into the same problems years previously, they kind of help.
Hindsight is 20/20 vision.
So now that we, broke everything, we kind of realized that we do have to document things better. We ran into these random problems that if they go undocumented, it's just going to happen again. And it is kind of an unsustainable model for turnover. So we have some ideas about bringing in new admins and having them compile their own primary services box with Mail, Apache and stuff like that. When they come on over the summer, not in our kind of production environment, but just setting everything up so that they have a bit of a knowledge in case when things go wrong, they'll be able to actually fix what goes wrong.
Yeah, and you're not kind of thrown in the deep end as to when it goes wrong, you've no idea what to do. So you're kind of know what to do kind of beforehand, so they've run into the errors and they know what to Google and how to Google and what they're looking for. It's kind of where we're coming from. What's left to do? Well, insert your witty remark there, Rob.
Oh, there was none. So there actually isn't that much left to do. In terms of everything that we have to get back up. We have to fix Mailman and lists.redbrick.dc.ie, which is how the societies get all their mailing lists. Because that's one of the big draws for societies, the fact that they can actually contact their members. We need to fix PubCookie, which is our authentication, so we can get to our committee wiki and people can log in and out the wiki and they can have PubCookie in front of their own pages, stuff like that. That's broken, and although it's small services, there's not much that needs to be done. They have to go up ASAP. And they are a lot harder to fix than they sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's before we actually get back to the projects that we initially intended on doing.
Yes, like virtualizing it.
Yes. So we need to get a stable physical infrastructure, and then we get to virtualize it.
Yes. Hopefully.
Eventually.
So,
maybe.
in summary, documentation is good and also bad.
Yes.
Franken servers are a thing, and we need a way to kind of make sure that they don't happen.
Again.
And always have a plan in place and do not do things in production.
And always have a plan B. Plan Bs are your savior.
And then a C and a D and an E.
Yes. And you'll eventually go back to plan A.
So,
has anyone any questions that don't involve the words fix it? Or comments that don't involve the word fix it? Looking at Niall.
Does the lobby have any questions, Keen?
we're going to have to wait 30 seconds.
They're a little behind us, so give them a second.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Do you guys want
High
to
internet.
do this work when you leave?
Yes. Oh,
Yes.
God, yes.
So the car hasn't scared you away?
No, it's just determined us to actually do more of it.
It's more fun to do this than to do college work.
This is like a giant jigsaw puzzle for us. It's
Not a fun one though.
no.
It's not pictures of puppies.
No. This is like a puzzle of an Iron Maiden, a 6.5 million piece puzzle
With no straight sides.
No,
Or
it's
corners.
just one. It's just a giant circle.
Not even, just jagged edges. And
That
extra,
poke you.
and extra pieces
Yeah,
everywhere.
6,500 pieces, 10,000 pieces included.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much, something like that.
Anyone here? Any questions? Yes.
How did you get to the stage where Redbrick and running a lot of things in society's education?
We offer it
We
for
offer
free.
it to them.
Yeah.
It's because it's for free mostly, and we advertise it out to societies that they can have it for free. And it's easy. in a way, because we're in DCU, they can come up to us, they can email us, and they don't have to go out somewhere else and pay for things.
Yeah.
Yes, Keen, or lobby member.
Resign.
Do we want to wait 30 seconds or just say
No.
No.
Rob might.
Adam has a question as well.
Yeah.
When you have to move to Apache 2.4, publicly won't work. Any thoughts on what you want to use instead?
I think we've been thinking about OpenID.
OpenID is what we want to use and what the new webmaster is thinking of doing.
There are some considerations we have to think about though, as I was talking to Isaac earlier, and he said it's really hard to set up. So
It's really hard to set up, especially with the authentication we use, which is LDAP, so trying to get it to talk to LDAP is a pain.
We might change from LDAP, but who knows?
No.
That was...
We've got a lot of questions.
Okay.
Train has a question.
Yeah.
How do you plan to be more like Lorcan?
repeat the question.
Can you repeat
I
the
refuse
question?
to answer that question.
Okay, defense says fix the Apache logs in www, they're not readable.
Eventually.
Sure.
It's on the list.
Can we have an Omni OS server?
We'll look into putting it on the virtual machines when we get a new virtual machine environment.
And where do you stand on decriminalization of drugs?
It's pretty grand.
What drugs? Blue Ghost?
We're live on a charity provided stream.
No, we're not. Any more questions from
Do
lobby?
you ever consider containerizing some of the basic servers?
Yes.
Yes.
I think that's our next plan.
There are many plans in circulation of how to virtualize and make it easier for us to do things. And while those plans are nice and fancy, it's implementing those plans at the time when we have time to get them to work, to then decommission the old environment.
It's the
It
dependency.
needs time. There is not enough time to do everything that we want to do.
We have to keep up with regular user requests, and we have to update everything, keep it up to date, and fix things as they break. And we just don't have enough time to do it at the same time. So any sort of updating work, containerizing work, or migration to a different architecture, it really has to be done over the summer. And that's when the new admins are in, unfortunately. So the times just don't line up. It's horrible.
Also,
First thing we need is a stable physical environment, and then we can look at the services, look at the infrastructure, and then go and break down dependencies, and then we can go and use microservices to try and containerize services. So we might look at Puppet and Vagrant, we might look at, you look at anything, we could even look at OpenStack for a couple of things, but it all depends. Like, it's an idea, and it's one we've been kicking around for a while.
There's been some work done in the space as well. I mean, I know people have done it, some docs, Defense did one as well about virtualization. So there's work ongoing, even if it's not from the committee.
Yeah. That's one of the things that we do like, is that there's a really active associate membership, that they actually care enough to kick in ideas and chip in, which is kind of nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
When will you fix the beeping, or do you just find it soothing now?
What is the beeping actually for everyone?
There's
Beeping is a dead hard drive in one of the servers.
Yeah. So one of the servers that is due to be decommissioned has an onboard speaker that was unfortunately left there by the admins. If I were there at the time, I would have torn it straight off the motherboard. That's me.
See data there?
This little guy here, that guy there is currently beeping at a really high pitched beep. And everyone in the new bar changing room next door can hear it and has commented on it. And it's been going for four months.
Couple months.
Something like that. But the services were off it. But we just haven't got around to actually taking the server out. We really should. Eventually.
Any more questions?
Anything else?
Fun would like to know if he gives you an SSD, we will hopefully.
We're not giving you Ramdisk fun, stop it.
Also, Nemo would like to know what the new committee looks like. The current committee.
Current committee.
Current, as in the new committee?
As in, well, there'll be new committee in like
He
3
doesn't know
weeks'
what any
time.
of us look like anymore.
Oh, okay. Every committee member that's currently in the room, stand up here, please.
This is crazy.
Yes, Niall.
Yeah, you do.
Well, although Nemo probably knows what you look like. Okay.
Wait.
Nemo.
Nemo.
Oh, wow.
Nemo, if you can see us, can we get a picture of you too?
No.
You guys aren't in frame.
Come here.
Coffee the edge of frame.
Aren't in frame.
Stand in front.
So this is Gillian, or Socks, the secretary. Kirill, or Max Payne, the treasurer. Keen, or Butler House.
Butlers.
Kylar's the admin, I'm the admin, he's the chair, and there's the other help desk over there, is Niall.
Hello.
We have other committee that's not here.
Yeah,
Yes,
some of the members of the committee aren't here because,
stuff,
you know.
They're asleep.
No, we will ask them to summarily resign. It's
Space
fine.
row, the key is still right.
Cool.
Yeah.
Any
Oh,
other
okay.
questions from lobby there, Kane?
Or in the Techweek DCU channel.
Or in the room.
Yeah. Room questions are also accepted. Yeah, you don't
Yes.
feel obliged
What's
to.
the question?
Kian has a question, but it's asking if it's valid Perl, and I don't think anyone would really know.
I would, Niall, if you bring up the screen, I'll take a look.
I don't.
I hate regex, but if it's Perl, I'll take a look at it.
Are there any real questions? Just throwing it out there. You got 30 seconds.
Yes, and screw you.
Can I see the pearl?
We have logs.
Yeah, there are lobby logs there.
I'm editing this into
What?
We'll
Yeah,
edit
we're all-
logs into the video.
Oh,
I
nice.
have a question. Was the
Yeah.
GameStop server affected in any way from this?
Nope.
No, GameSock, we didn't touch GameSock server. Well, we updated it, but it wasn't well.
I updated it.
Yeah.
So I'm currently in charge of the GameStop server, and I haven't had no request for them to do anything, and it hasn't been touched since I last updated it and fixed it. So as far as I'm aware, it's still running. I haven't been told otherwise from GameStop committee.
Your users are your best form of like, I don't know, motivation. So if they're not shouting at us, we don't do anything.
Yeah. And there's no NMS that can shout loud enough for us to hear.
Can you please have our webmaster climbing and making better?
Who's your climbing webmaster?
Rob, I'll talk to him.
Okay, we have a torture session after this. We'll work on it.
No, we don't.
No, we don't. I mean, what?
Yes.
Oh, we actually have a real
Lorcan
question.
has a question. It's what's the long-term plan for service management in Redbrick?
That's
Oh.
a good question.
I'm gonna be gone next year. I don't know.
I don't know if I'll be a root holder next year.
You will be.
Yeah, you will.
Oh.
Short answer, we don't know. It's on a long list of things to look at. We've kind of... I've been tossing around the idea in my head of rebuilding Redbrick from the ground up, but that's probably not a really good idea, considering, again, time constraints, and it's going to break.
Fourth year.
And fourth year, yes. So in the long term, I don't know. We will kind of need to sit down and have a serious chat, potentially with some of the older root holders, to see what they would advise or how we could go about doing it in a way that we keep the old environment until we have a stable way of integrating, adding new services to a new environment, either virtually or physically with servers. Yeah.
And if older admins who are watching the stream can commit time or knowledge, that would be great.
I wholeheartedly endorse what they have said.
Nice.
Any more?
I think we're done.
Cool. Okay, thank you for everyone
Thank
that's
you.
here.
Thanks, guys.